The time by Kyrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
Power restoration, regional diplomacy, and a new bottleneck in Venezuela's oil trade. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Tuesday, January 6, 2026. I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, electricity restoration emerges a key driver of Jamaica's economic recovery as businesses ramp up after Hurricane Melissa. And ahead, Caribbean leaders seek to protect energy and trade stability, emphasizing diplomacy amid rising U.S.-Venezuela pressure. And later, Chevron emerges sole export channel as Venezuela's oil flows tighten, reshaping supply routes and market dynamics. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the CBX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why CBX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
Kingston, Jamaica is a place to be in January 2026 for the 21st staging of the Regional Investment and Capital Market Conference that will be hosted by the Jamaica Stock Exchange at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. We invite you to join us as we bring together government leaders, issuers, investors, and potential investors for 3 days of insightful presentations and discussions. Register now. Seats are limited. Call 876-967-3271 or visit jamstockx.com.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? We are going party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
If it were not for the Jamaica Stock Exchange listing, Phosphate Company Limited would not be where it's at today. I called them, they listened to my concerns and my fears, and they gave me the answers. All the fears I had about banks, about losing control, you are having them. And I tell you, they were dissipated when I spoke to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. this is one of the best decisions I have ever made in business. If you want to change the trajectory of your business and to grow, make that call today to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. You will be glad you did.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
It's feeling so good right now.
Fesco started from 5 shareholders who believed that they could execute a fuel company as good as or as better than any multinational. The director shareholders always believed that the dealers within our network should be owners of the company. They believe that staff should be owners of the company. And specifically also believe that the public should become shareholders. That cannot be facilitated by a bank loan. Our experience so far has translated into additional customers. Our transparency has allowed us to access credit easier and at better rates. So if you're a private company thinking about growing your profits, having better access to capital, I really think you should consider listing on the junior or the main market. Go ahead, have that conversation as soon as possible. We did it and we're very happy.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with the business of energy. Electricity restoration is now emerging as the single most critical driver of Jamaica's post-hurricane economic recovery. As the country pushes towards full recovery from Hurricane Melissa, the government is deliberately reframing electricity restoration as an economic intervention, not simply a utility operation. with Jamaica Public Service JPS deploying 175 newly acquired specialized vehicles to accelerate restoration efforts. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, speaking recently at the Hunts Bay Power Plant, says the pace of national recovery is directly tied to how quickly electricity is restored across the island.
We are driving recovery and restoration by driving the recovery of the electricity sector. And you can see that that strategy has been deliberate, it has been instrumental, and the strategy has worked.
That was Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness. Jamaica's recovery strategy is tightening. After weeks of broad emergency spending, the government is now narrowing the funnel, directing recovery efforts towards businesses that can reopen quickly and pull surrounding communities back into economic activity. Industry Minister Aubin Hill says recovery decisions are now being driven by real-time intelligence from businesses operating closest to the ground in hurricane-affected communities.
We must make effective decisions with clear, reliable information from the people who are closest to these businesses. The lists you provide help determine what support is delivered, how it is delivered, and who receives it. This is how we ensure that assistance reaches businesses that are still operating but need support, as well as those that are non-operational or semi-operational and require more significant intervention to get back on their feet.
That was Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Aubin Hill. Moving now to financial news, Jamaican Teas Limited is generating real cash, but its latest financial results show a company whose profit profile is increasingly shaped by investments, valuations, and financial engineering, not just operating growth. For the year ended September 30, 2025, the junior market listed group reported a net profit of $230 million, up from $207 million a year earlier. Operating cash flows surged nearly 80% to $335 million, a clear signal of stronger cash conversion and balance sheet resilience. But beneath those headline numbers lies a more nuanced picture. Operating profit fell sharply, sliding to $313 million from $464 million, as the prior year's outsized fair value gains on investments failed to repeat. While revenues climbed to $3.47 billion and gross profit improved, the slowdown highlights how sensitive earnings have become to market-driven valuation movements rather than pure operating momentum. That exposure is significant. Jamaican Teas ended the year holding $2.1 billion in listed investment securities, a portfolio large enough for auditors to flag valuation and market liquidity as a key audit matter, citing volatility, thin trading in some stocks, and reliance on judgment when determining fair values. And the Bank of Jamaica BOJ injected a sharp burst of cash into the financial system in the final stretch of 2025 as holiday spending and storm-related caution drove demand for physical currency. Between December 23 and 31, the BOJ issued $14.1 billion in notes and coins while redeeming just $900 million. That resulted in a net currency issue of $13.1 billion, accounting for more than half of the $21.7 billion increase in currency stock for the month. Overall, currency in circulation grew 7.2% in December, broadly in line with the central bank's projection of 7% growth, but below the 8% expansion recorded in December 2024. By December 31, 2025, Jamaica's currency stock stood at over $322 billion, representing a 12.7% year-on-year increase, sharply higher than the 3.1% annual growth recorded at the end of 2024. The BOJ says the stronger expansion reflects a mix of precautionary cash demand following Hurricane Melissa, higher remittance inflows, and an uptick in inflation. The rebound in economic activity through September 2025, following disruptions caused by Hurricane Beryl in July 2024, also supported higher cash usage. Adjusted for inflation, the currency stock is estimated to have grown 7.1% in real terms, reversing a 1.8% real decline over the same period in 2024. And staying with developments from the Bank of Jamaica, here are today's currency market updates. In Tuesday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $159.32, the Canadian for $114.08, the pound sterling for $213.52, and the going rate for the euro is $185.69. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 111 stocks, of which 60 advanced, 39 declined, and 12 traded firm. Leading today's winners are West Indies Petroleum Terminal, 138 Student Living, Jamaica Variable Preference, Margaritaville Turks USD, and Jamaica Public Service Company 7%, while leading the losers are MFS Capital Partners, First Rock Real Estate Investments USD, Proven Group USD, and G West Corporation Ordinary Shares. The main index advanced by 5,611.49 points to close at 320,883.19 points. The junior market index also advanced, but by 44.11 points to close at 3,392.89 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariChris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're talking about fragmentation. Fragmentation refers to the process of producing goods and services through multiple suppliers and component manufacturers located in different regions. Firms often divide production across countries where labor is abundant and inexpensive to reduce costs. Although globalization and advances in technology are the primary drivers of fragmentation, factors such as labor availability, economic conditions, and regulatory environments also play important roles. This approach can create economic opportunities for developing countries, but it may also result in the exploitation of workers. Fragmentation occurs in several forms within the economy, including business, market, and industry fragmentation.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariChris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local segment of the news. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be to you. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea.
Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. Several Caribbean leaders are weighing in as tensions rise between the United States and Venezuela, with wider geopolitical risk now spilling into energy security and regional stability. CARICOM has called for restraint and diplomacy, while individual governments are also clarifying their positions. CBX's Janelle Dillon has filed this report.
Rising tensions between the United States and Venezuela are prompting renewed responses across the Caribbean as governments weigh diplomatic alignment, energy security, and regional stability. CARICOM's bureau has described recent developments as a matter of grave concern and has urged a peaceful diplomatic path to protect stability and governance. Against that backdrop, several Caribbean governments are now speaking publicly, emphasizing diplomacy, collective coordination, and the need to shield their economies from fallout. Among the countries that have publicly addressed the issue are Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking at a press conference on Monday, the Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, reaffirmed his country's commitment to international law and diplomatic solutions while calling for unity and a focus on stability in Venezuela.
Dominica, as always, is firmly committed to the principles of international law, multilateralism, and the United Nations system, and has a long-standing respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and human dignity. Dominica reiterates its call for the rule of law to be observed and for ongoing diplomatic efforts to ensure Venezuela's stability, good governance, democracy, and peace. Dominica remains steady, ready to support all such efforts. At this moment, our concern is for the well-being of the Venezuelan people. Political developments have real consequences for ordinary citizens, affecting social and economic stability, and in many instances, access to essential services. We therefore encourage restraint and actions which prioritize peace and the protection of human life.
His comments were followed by remarks from Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who stressed that Barbados maintains friendly relations with both Venezuela and the United States. She also underscored that Barbados's foreign policy remains aligned with CARICOM's collective position.
Venezuela is our friend, the United States of America is our friend. In fact, in both instances, we have family relations with both countries. By the same token, the Caribbean community has been the entity that we have chosen as a matter of first principles to align our foreign policy with. When the heads of government met this morning, all of the persons were not there because it was an emergency early meeting. We took a decision that we will wait for other information to become present.
Meanwhile, St. Vincent and the Grenadines opposition leader Dr. Ralph Gonsalves warns that unresolved tensions could have wider economic and security implications, not just for Venezuela, but for the region as a whole.
It's one thing to remove the president, it's another thing to install an entirely different government. And that is when you're going to have mayhem in this Caribbean. A lot of people are going to get killed. A lot of people are going to run out of Venezuela, good and bad people. And bad people tend to take advantage of crises to make money and to carry out all kinds of actions.
Janelle Dillon for CBX News.
Thanks, Janelle. Meanwhile, Rising uncertainty around Venezuela is once again heightening economic and energy risk across the region. In response, the Organization of American States, OAS, convened a special meeting of its Permanent Council in Washington on Tuesday as concerns mount over the potential impact on oil production, investor confidence, and cross-border trade. With energy markets already sensitive to supply disruptions from Latin America, analysts warn that any escalation could further strain Caribbean economies. OAS Secretary General Albert Ramdin says stability remains critical to limiting wider economic fallout.
In a more complex world, multilateral institutions are not optional. They are indispensable. We have heard all those sentiments expressed today here. So if democracy, fundamental principles of international law, and the inter-American legal framework are at stake, like it has happened before in our hemisphere, now in Venezuela, the hemisphere must act collectively to return to accepted norms and principles. This will require constructive engagement among the OAS member states, full support, and certainly also in Venezuela.
That was Secretary General of the OAS, Albert Ramdin. In other news, a nearly $800 million investment in the upgraded Paramakatoy airstrip is prompting Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali to call on domestic airlines to lower airfares, arguing that improved infrastructure should reduce operating costs. Paramakatoy, an indigenous community in Region 8, has long faced high flight prices, often attributed to the airstrip's poor condition and operational constraints. With the new 2,500-foot concrete runway now operational, the president says those savings should be passed on to residents through reduced fares.
They always say that part of the cost is the state of the airstrip that affect their maintenance. Well, today you have a brand new airstrip. Let us see what you will now see. And we're giving them enough time to adjust their costs, because we will not just sit by. We will not just sit by and not allow the benefit of these cost savings to be transferred to the people. Because we want, and you will know.
That was President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 23 securities, of which 4 advanced, 9 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, Republic Financial Holdings, and National Enterprises, while leading the losers are Point Lissa's Industrial Port Development Corporation, Trinidad Cement, Prestige Holdings, and Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index declined by 4.21 points to close at 1,373.50. The Composite Index declined by 3.01 points to close at 949.01. The Cross-Listed Index declined by 0.24 points to close at 69.23. The SME Index remained at 94.06. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items, such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-923-5111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
Welcome back. In international news, Venezuela's oil export system remains under severe strain, with crude loadings now limited almost entirely to U.S. major Chevron, as shipments to China and other Asian buyers remain suspended for a fifth straight day. Shipping data show that only Chevron-chartered vessels are loading at the country's main export hubs, while state producer PDVSA is unable to move crude to its traditional markets due to a U.S. blockade on sanctioned tankers imposed last month. Chevron, operating under a U.S. sanctions waiver, has resumed exports to the United States after a brief pause, effectively becoming Venezuela's only functioning export channel. That reality underscores how geopolitics, not reserves, are now dictating Venezuela's oil output and cash flow. And with legal export channels effectively reduced to one, the strain inside Venezuela's oil system is now spilling into shipping activity. At least a dozen sanctioned oil tankers quietly departed Venezuelan waters in early January, carrying an estimated 12 billion barrels of crude and fuel. The vessels, initially loaded for Asian buyers, left with tracking transponders switched off, a practice known as dark mode, as PDVSA struggled with near full storage and limited legal export routes. U.S. authorities have not confirmed whether departures were authorized. For traders, the episode highlights the growing operational stress inside Venezuela's oil system, where bottlenecks are forcing unconventional and opaque solutions. And while geopolitics is disrupting oil supply, technology is being mobilized to prevent energy shortages elsewhere. Microsoft has entered a strategic partnership with the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, deploying advanced software tools to modernize grid operations across 15 U.S. states and parts of Canada. The move comes as electricity demand surges, driven by the rapid expansion of AI-powered data centers, some of the most energy-intensive infrastructure now coming online. Microsoft's technology will support weather forecasting, transmission planning, and faster operational decision-making to reduce outages and grid congestion. For utilities and investors, the message is clear. Meeting AI-driven demand will require not just new power plants, but smarter, more responsive grids. Big tech is increasingly positioning itself as an infrastructure partner, not just a customer. And as energy systems adapt, trade flows are offering a clearer read on economic momentum in Latin America. Brazil closed December 2025 with a record US $9.6 billion trade surplus, as exports surged to an all-time monthly high of US $31 billion, comfortably outpacing import growth. The performance reflects broad-based strength. Manufacturing exports reached a record US $189 billion for the year, supported by higher volumes of vehicles, machinery, and processed foods. Agricultural and extractive exports also posted strong gains, driven by coffee, soybeans, iron ore, and oil. Exports to China climbed to US $100 billion, reinforcing Brazil's position as a key supplier to global commodity markets, while shipments to Argentina jumped more than 30%, pointing to stronger regional demand. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break. And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, electricity restoration emerges as key driver of Jamaica's economic recovery. Regionally, Caribbean leaders stress diplomacy amid U.S.-Venezuela pressure. And internationally, Chevron emerges as a sole export channel as Venezuela's oil flows tighten. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
I am Pierre Celestin Dwabukumba, the CEO of Rwanda Stock Exchange and President of African Securities Exchange